As the founders of Surefoot, Bob and Russ Shea are obsessed with creating the perfect ski boot for you because they know that a properly fitted custom ski boot will make you a better skier, whatever level you're at. Surefoot, better fitting, better skiing.
Welcome back, Free Ride fans. My name is Mark Warner.
I'm Derek Foose.
And you are listening or watching the Free Ride Guide. Now, this episode has nothing to do with the Free Ride World Tour because we are talking about Natural Selection Ski. It premiered yesterday, and it was a really fun show.
Yeah, the anticipation of this one was so intense. You know, they announced it in, I don't know, was it the summer or the fall that they were doing it? And then it was a long wait to find out who was doing it, and then a really long wait for them to do it. And then we had to wait again to get to see it. So really building the intensity, building the drama. And it was, it was a lot to take in.
It was fun. And like, I had a few people that kind of heard who won, and I am proud to say I made it all the way to the finals without having it spoiled for me.
Nice. Yeah, they kept it pretty tight. I was impressed with that. I know, like, when a few years back when FWT did the delayed live in Japan, it got out. That was a leaky little situation, and it definitely got out. So it was good that they were able to keep it tight and keep the drama building, because it was definitely dramatic right to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before we get into that, let's take care of a little business. The Free Ride Guide is available on every single podcast app, the one you're listening to right now. If you haven't yet, please go hit that subscribe button and give us a 5-star review if you think it's worthy. It would really help us out. You can also watch us on YouTube. Hi, everybody. It's on the Low Pressure Podcast YouTube channel. It's easy to find. There's a Free Ride Guide playlist. Just go and click on it. And hit that subscribe button there too. The Free Ride Guide is sponsored by Surefoot Skiing, providing custom ski boots. You can see one right behind me if you're watching on YouTube with the custom Surefoot heated boot liner heaters. Ski boots are a long-term investment in your skiing experience, and Surefoot is here to educate your decision. Don't just take our word for it. Come and experience what you've been missing. And what you've been missing is probably a comfortable foot while you're skiing. Surefoot is fitting you for custom heated liners and Surefoot custom orthotics. They have 29 locations across the US, Canada, and Europe, and you can visit surefoot.com to find the location nearest you and ski the Surefoot difference.
Do it.
Do you find that you have to get any work done when the seasons change? So I usually get my boot pretty dialed in at the beginning of the winter when it's winter. And then when the spring comes and it's warmer, the boots soften a little bit. Every boot softens a little bit and kind of adjusts. Do you usually go in and do an adjustment this time of year?
Yeah, the combo of the boot softening, the heat kind of settling the punches in, and my feet swelling because it's hot. Definitely it requires a little bit of springtime adjustment. And also, I guess maybe for me, because of the travel, you know, every time I fly in a plane, my feet get a little swollen, and then the next day I'm in boots, and all of a sudden these hot spots are popping up and stuff. So yeah, a little adjustment, but it's always quick to get in, and the crew in there is so dialed. Like, you know, I've spent tons of time in the Surefoot in Whistler, and as well when I'm in Verbier, like I always swing by and talk to the guys and get anything I need done. And that, yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah, nice. And for those of you that didn't see it, we actually recorded the FWT recap in the Surefoot store in Whistler. So go check that out if you haven't yet. And finally, we've got some merch available. Check the link in the description of the podcast you're listening to, or the YouTube description. We got the couple shirts on right now. That you can see. If you're looking, Free Ride Guide shirts. We're going to have some hats and toques for next season. But for right now, that's what you got. Okay, so Natural Selection Ski, the first one, the inaugural. If you want to go and find out what it is we're talking about, you can go to Red Bull TV and go to the YETI Natural Selection Ski link there. And same as the FWT, you can actually go and click on each individual rider's runs and get a better idea of what it is we are talking about. So let's set it up. A couple days ago, we had Mike Douglas, the event director of Natural Selection Ski, on to kind of give us a preview of what we can expect with regards to how it was set up, how the competition's going to run, as well as the face. So the face name is Priority One. You would have heard in that episode that it was originally written by Jeremy Nobis, I think in 2007 for TGR. And then Travis Rice wanted to use this competition zone for an original NST for the snowboarders and just couldn't make it happen. Fate just made it wait for us. And it was pretty amazing. We'll get to it, but the conditions were pretty variable. But let's get right into kind of the competition of it. There's 2 competition zones on this face. They had the first competition zone for the first rounds and then switched over into the semifinals. There were 12 riders, 8 ski men, which ended up riding 6 rounds of competition, and 4 ski women who ended up going in through 4 rounds of competition. And then it was a bracket which was picked at random. I asked, we had a big watch party here in Whistler. Some names like Marcus Gogan, Astrid Shalus, Wei Tian Ho, Adam Cooch was there, Mike Douglas. We had Alex Army Armstrong, Janelle Yip. We had a huge crew of people at RMU watching the event. So I asked Mike, I was like, hey, how did they pick the order? He's like, they were picked at random, kind of bib draw. So that's kind of how that was set up. And I wanted to just quickly touch on the judging as well, because we're gonna get into that a little bit later. It's called the judging CREDO. It's kind of anagram, is based on creativity, risk, execution, difficulty, and overall flow. And one thing I learned during the competition is they don't give deductions for mistakes.
Yeah, they run it the same in natural selection snowboard. It's my understanding is it's designed to promote progression. They want the riders to try stuff. You know, they're really pushing away from the stay on your feet and you'll do well. They want to see people really pushing their own limits, and when it's these people, those limits are sky high. So yeah, it's interesting to get used to watching that when you can eat it and still get, a high score. But when the tricks are there, and I totally understand that process, and I think having natural selection as this standalone thing that isn't tied to a series or anything like that, and it has like a core philosophy, core value of progression, pushing the limits of what the sport is. I get it. And anytime you have anything that's judged, there's going to be some controversy potentially. There's people are going to think this person should have won or that or whatever. It's a judge sport. It's going to have variables in it, and they set this out, the CREDO system, and to their credit, they're sticking to it. We saw that in this event. We saw people who definitely crashed doing awesome stuff still walk away with high scores. So yeah, they're doing it, and I understand the philosophy, and I think it's super cool that there's a place for a philosophy like that in a competitive format.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they were kind of rewarded for it, like based on what we saw.
Yeah,
pretty wild. So we had. It was interesting because they had some announcers in that were kind of just chilling, just like we were watching it live at the same time as we were. Ed Lee, the legendary Ed Lee, was kind of leading the show. We had, as he called him, Obi Abma Wankanobi, Mark Abma, Chris Benchetler, and Tanya Kvivik. And then on site was Tatum Minode as the corral reporter, who I thought did a fantastic job. Because she knows all those riders. She was there hanging out with them, like really, really cool. So I enjoyed the commentary personally. I thought those legends of the sport had some pretty good insight. Ben Chetler had me cracking up the whole time with his one-liners. he was pretty sweet. So let's get into kind of the conditions. Let's start out with the conditions. That's usually how we start it. Usually you're there for these recaps and you can tell us. So I asked Mike and he was kind of giving us some heads up, but they were variable. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, on the first, I guess it was too bad that it wasn't perfect Alaskan POW. And you could see that in the riding, take a step back. You could hear it in the riding. Yeah. They had the riders mic'd up. There's a mic on the drone. And when Parker White, who was the first person to drop in of the day, dropped into that sun facing side, it was so loud. And you could hear the reaction from the commentary team. And they're like, oh, that all the way down as he's sliding sideways.
You could hear the reaction from Parker too.
Yeah, like, exactly. Whoa. And it's, it's the classic, like, oh, bro, you should have been here yesterday. Cause it was epic. And it made me laugh a little bit because at the FWT, they get, crapped on all the time for running D-1 before the weather window even starts. And I guess natural selection got to look at why that happens sometimes, because that one day of sun that cooked that aspect was a total game changer. And really, in my opinion, the only sort of low in this whole thing was that, because you heard from a bunch of the athletes, like they wanted to be able to go right up to their max. And you could see it in the skiing, in the speed they were going for some. We'll get into that a little bit.
I think some of them they're pretty close to the red line. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. But redlined in tough snow is different than redlined in perfect conditions for sure. And to see that group of skiers, knowing the talent and skill that they have, challenged like that by the snow conditions, gives you some indication of how difficult it actually was. Because these are truly some of the best skiers out there. So when they're kind of struggling with it, it tells you everything you need to know. So yeah, to me, it was tough. And you could really see, and the commentary team dug into it. The sun facing more easterly or southeasterly facing stuff was cooked and refrozen. And then as soon as they got onto the other side, that skier's left side of every spine feature, it was deep, right? That was the glory stuff. There were a couple turns, one from Marcus Eder that really stood out for me, and one that I think was Michelle Parker, where they hooked down to really like load up a turn, back up the spine. And they went like waist to armpit deep in that snow, huge white room over the head. You're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That from an AK natural selection. That's what we wanted to see. So luckily the aspect gave it enough good that it worked. Cause if both aspects were like that skier's right side, it would have been a tough comp.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get more into the conditions. We'll kind of weave more conditions chat as we get into some of the runs, because it's a little bit more pertinent with that. Another point that we're going to get to is, I don't know how many saves of the day there was. There were some of the most mega saves I've ever seen, and I'm thinking like Manon had one, Colby had one, Kai had. Like they just kept upping each other, and then we also had like a lot of snow moving to the point where I was like, whoa, is this safe? So we can touch on that a little bit further as we get through it. Well, let's get into this. Let's start with men's round 1, session 1. So why don't you get it kicked off there, Derek Foos?
Yeah, I like this format. 4 guys get to go. Top score in run 1 moves on to the next round, and then the other 3s get basically an LCQ, like a last chance qualifier. And the one who wins that 3-person battle then moves on as well. So Sam Cooch, Parker White, Colby Stevenson, and Kai Jones was the first matchup. I mean, just saying this out loud is insane, right? Like the level of talent that was stacked up in this field. And Parker opening the day, opening this new page in history as the first person to drop in natural selection ski. P. White is the man for the job. Right off that, what were they calling it? The BFR. off the top, that huge cliff, and then into a front flip. Like it was
front flip, like cruising into that. I think Abba may have called it on the thing, but like that's how you start off an event. Like Parker White is every skier's favorite skier. Apparently, like at all the dinners, all the meals, all the everything, everyone just wanted to go and sit next to Parker to hear his stories and just like be around that guy.
Oh yeah, he's just so fun. Like as a person, he's so much fun. His energy is infectious, and it showed, and it gave us an indication of the conditions as well, because you could hear again his skis on the snow and the sound it was making. And he set the tone, right? He opened the door to this new era of natural selection ski, of this format, of all of it, and it was. I don't know. It felt like a momentous moment, and when he dropped in, it was like, okay, this is a brand new thing. And this is the guy to open the door to it. It was pretty exciting to watch. And you could kind of see he was feeling it out a little bit. Like they hadn't skied yet that day. So kind of trying to understand the conditions. Where can you push? Where do you need to just stay safe and stay upright so you can get to the next feature?
And on that point, so he got to the bottom, and like I said, they're mic'd up. He actually said it feels good to be at the bottom. And then he got on the microphone. It's almost as if he was the first rider, but it's almost as if he was a forerunner, because he was right up to everybody like, hey, this is what you need to expect. It's crusty. Watch out for this. Watch out for that. Like he was giving them all the information that they need. I was like, okay, that's definitely different from an FWT run. You're going to call up and maybe talk to your, like a Christopher Trudell and a Carl. You're going to go and give your information to your buddy or your partner, but you're not giving the whole crew all that information. Do you know what I mean?
I loved that. That was so like for the people, right? The camaraderie of like, let's make this whole thing better. And by him telling the guys stacked up at the top how it was, that valuable information, not a competitive move, not a strategic move, just a let's make this overall thing better move. And I have so much respect for that. That was so sick. Like he was really detailed too in his analysis of the snow and how it was working. And you could see the others at the top, like gathered around the radio, ears in, like, okay. Yeah. Taking mental notes. That was great. As you said, it was a forerunner report, but from a competitor. I loved it.
Yeah. So Parker dropped in first, and then next up was Kai Jones. Like I said, I was watching with Mike D, and he's like, this is like a heart attack moment for us. So he cruised down straight into that Parker spine, a little bit farther down, and slashed the spine a little bit on that shadowy side, and the entire thing ripped out. Like that was a lot of slough moving. Like he got to the bottom, he's like, that was spooky. Like I think Mike was telling me that they were worried that might have ruined the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely affected the day. The deposit at the bottom that other people were having to manage after that was huge.
There was a lot of gnarly straight lines through that debris.
Yeah, like you said, it was like a full-on slab avalanche off that side-hanging spine. And Kai did great to stay out of it and keep himself safe. But yeah, it changed the run out at the bottom on the apron big time, and people had to manage it. And no shade on Kai. Like we're not taking it. That is what it is. And you put a turn in a place like that, and it acts as a ski cut, and off the snow goes. But it was scary. I had the same thought as you, Mark, where I was like, is this what we're going to be seeing? Are airbags getting pulled today? And that's the pay to play situation skiing in big mountains and in Alaska. Like that risk is always there. I know the NST guys did their absolute best to mitigate the hazard, but the hazard's never zero when you're in big mountains like that. And those skiers, they have to know that and understand that. I'm sure the safety briefings up there were intense. I mean, Travis runs a tight ship with that kind of stuff. And I think that their handling of it for the most part, and I'm talking about the athletes, was good. They were moving in the places they needed to be moving. They were moving away from the places they needed to move away from, and managing what the mountains threw at them. But that was scary, yeah. And it was not small, and it wasn't the only one of the day.
No, it wasn't the only one. We'll get to that more. There's quite several of them. Even I think we'll get to Maggie, but Maggie was like right in the middle of one, ended up riding out of it, no problem. But everyone, we don't even have to. This isn't a spoiler. Everyone got out of there safe. There was no injuries, no major damage. It was pretty awesome. Only a couple skis came off. And it's funny that the ski ninja was Travis Rice. Like, of course, it's his event. And I do love Ben Chetler started calling him Traverse Rice, which it was probably it's stupidly one of my favorite parts of the whole event. Like, that tells you how dumb I am. That's just stuck in my head. But yeah, no major injuries. But we'll get to some more of those pockets that ripped out. And I will tell you that I asked Mike about this, Mike Douglas. I was like, at any point were you guys like, hey, we can't do this? And he's like, well, we had so much, as you mentioned, there's so much communication. They were checking with the riders. They were checking in after every run, every one of those incidences. They're like, hey, are we good? Are you guys good? Do we still want to do this? Do we feel safe? This is what we think. What do you think? And everybody was like, yep, on board. Let's keep moving through it. So that first heat was a great way to start it off. You know, Parker comes in, Kai Jones, like the drama already after 2 riders. And then it only gets stepped up to Sam Cooch with one of the biggest runs of the day. Just comes in, launches a massive floaty 360 at the top, rips out another pocket, hits another air with a shifty, another 360, and then a huge transfer. And then a quick carve to avoid the debris field, and then just kind of straight lines through the end of it. Like, skied, I think he said, like, skiing everything from crust to pow on that run.
Yeah, that was a kind of a foreshadowing of how the day was going to go.
Is the tone setter.
Yeah, when Sam did his first run, like, Parker's was good, Kai's was good, but they were a little, like, the pace was different. And the intensity that Sam went out right from the top with, the speed, the size of the airs, like, we know the snow was tricky and weird. It didn't look like it when he was skiing. And that's one of the hallmarks of these absolute, greats of the sport. They're able to do that in difficult snow. But he just skied so fast. He had these super creative. I mean, it is like the whitewater style, the cross court transition finding landings in zones where the wall shifts direction, but he just happens to be magically facing the right way to connect with it instead of plow into it. I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Like, this is what we all were hoping to see. Man, yeah, like I said, foreshadowing for the rest of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're not going to talk about every single rider's runs just because we'll be here all day if we do it. Colby Stevenson I will note he had that really, really stylish hand drag floaty 3, which is beautiful. But Sam Cooch took the I guess won that heat, which put him directly into the semifinals. So he wouldn't have to go into the next heat. So the next heat would be the remaining 3 rides. So every rider got at least 2 runs. So that next heat round, I guess they're calling them sessions. Round 1, session 1, those guys got to go again. So Colby, Kai, and Parker got to go again a little bit later. Next up after that was the first round of the women's event, women's round 1. Now, the crusty bit at the top seemed to affect them a little bit more.
Yeah, that was hard snow, and it was loud, and you could see in the selection of where they went who had kind of done their homework with the snow the way it was. And you kind of look at the scores from that first round of the women. Michelle, Hedvig, and Maggie were quite careful, a little bit even hesitant.
Yeah, even Michelle said, like, at the bottom, she changed her line based on the conditions, and then it wasn't ideal for full sending. Now, Michelle is probably the most could have been the most experienced Alaskan skier in that whole field.
Yeah. So she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's talking about, and that's veteran mountain savvy. If I'm sure some of them wanted to stay more on the right side, and they had hits lined up that they wanted to spin and flip. And I saw a social media post from Hedvig today saying, I really, she was super grateful, but also a little bit bummed for not getting to show the whole range of skill, right? And get into that pushing mindset where we're going to try some unheard of stuff. But also from junior free ride to natural selection, you got to ski to the conditions that the mountain gives you. And that was it. And then, but again, like on the men's side, when Manon skied, the speed was different. The intensity was different. It was like you could see it. It was visible that she was going in another gear, that she just had the speed, she had the confidence, which is wild because Michelle and Hedvig have for sure been filming in Alaska a lot. As you said, Michelle, a ton.
Michelle might have like more than everybody combined.
Like she's been doing this for decades. Years.
Yeah.
And Manon, it was her first time there. So for her to ski like that on the first run, first day, first natural selection, all of that, like, okay, this one's here to play. Like she's not messing around. And I respect that a lot because the intensity, even the intimidation of being in this group of people that have all this experience that you don't have, to push out at the start and be like, right, but I'm still me, and I want to do this, and I love that. And she skied, she skied herself into finals with that one run.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even Abma said, like, ignorance is bliss. To your point there, they don't know what they don't know, so they don't know.
Yeah.
And even like it's funny, like I said, I enjoyed the banter with them. Tanya was like, this Tanya actually said the snow does not sound good, which kind of made everybody laugh. So like Manon had a 70. She dropped in like fast, confidence. Those are the notes I wrote. Her ski got caught, but she saved it. Cut out another slab. She had good flow, a little shifty. And the snow was dragging and pulling her skis around, and she managed to fight it off. Like, Manon told us, like, she's like, I'm small, but, I still managed to kind of figure it out. But I don't think it matters if you're strong and you're capable on your skis. It's just a matter of what you decide you're going to do at that point. And she decided, which put her straight into the semifinals. So moving right along, I liked how they kind of split it up. I think that, and I know it has to do with sponsors and that sort of thing, but there was a lot of breaks in between. I think there was a lot of extras, which they were interesting extras, but I just wanted them to get to the meat.
Yeah. I that's my thought too. The too much filler, and that's always been my one thing with natural selection. A comp with 12 people and it takes 3 hours. Like there's way too much filler and not enough shredding. And we are a attention deficit culture. When it's not ripping skiing or snowboarding, you kind of lose track of it pretty quick. And they had 3 weeks to put that show together. And I appreciate that doing it live wouldn't work because they have to bump people back up to the top, and it would take, for sure, that didn't take 3 hours to actually do. It would have been longer. Yeah. Like on the day for those on site, and waiting for helis to bump people back up to the top and for them to get reset. Like we've said, that's a huge face, and for them to ski it, for some of the ski guys up to 6 times during the day, that just gobbles up a day. But yeah, I'd like to see it pared down.
Yeah,
like
I agree. And to be honest with you, they did actually do some editing. I was told that for some of the women's ski rounds, that top kind of icy bowl section, they had to like edit out a little bit and just kind of start it right at the top of the spine, so to speak. So they did do a little bit of that, but like I understand, like this is probably not a very cheap event to hold. Like, like I was looking at the amount of sponsors. I think they have like 59 partners / sponsors, and even then, I'm sure there's got to be some kind of secret benefactor, because how many heli bumps right? Like how many people were out there? How long were they out there? Like I'm trying to like in the back of my mind do the mathematics and it just twists my brain. Like, so I can understand that, this brand and this brand and this brand want to get their full minute.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
And these are the things you trade off as an event producer, in order to have the event at all, which for sure is priority one. We got to have this event, and if it means a few more ads or product placements or whatever, product named awards and these kinds of things, that's what you got to do to make it happen. I'm all for it, because having it happen at all is one of the best things that we've gotten to watch as fans of this sport. So yeah, you do what you got to do and make it happen and get out there. I mean, like you said, the cost of this thing is got to be astronomical.
Yeah. It was just under 4 hours, for the entire show. So yeah, who knows? Maybe that's something that will change. Maybe it won't. But maybe it'll make people decide how and when they want to watch, right? So I watched it live with everybody and it was a lot of fun in that atmosphere, but then you were able to watch it at home by yourself and you can skip through those ads,
Yeah, but if you're a sponsor of Natural Selection, we weren't skipping through. We watched every bit,
exactly.
took it all in, soaked it in, really absorbed all the.
They haven't passed any of that money on to us yet, so
yeah, we're just. But I still want it to keep happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. We watched them all twice. So after the first, so Manon and Loschi ended up going straight to the semis, and then men's round 2, we've got Max Palm, Kai Peterson, Marcus Eder, Craig Murray, just spoiled. Just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Max Palm, we know Max Palm from the Freeride World Tour. He is an interesting dude. I love that kid. He's such a character. I'm loving that he dropped in that first into that round, and he had his vest like open.
Almost only done up at the top.
Like a cholo vest or something like that. Like I was like, I love this kid.
Oh, he is just all style over everything, including in his skiing. And he skied so well. He was another one that kind of stepped up the intensity and like big backflip up the top. Another like decent sized avalanche coming right off his skis. He skis so smooth. He's got such a nice touch on his skis. And another guy, first time in Alaska, and definitely didn't look like it when he dropped in. I was like, oh, this could be it. But
you could see his competition pedigree kind of coming through. Like he always had that skill. Watching his film parts, even his Instagram clips, where you're like, oh my God, how did he do that and not break every bone in his body? Like I remember that one clip where he aired and he just like compressed himself into a slinky and then just popped up like it was nothing. Like the kid is unreal. And like his run, as you mentioned, you started out with that big backy, big floaty 3, and then that big air at the bottom and straight line right through to debris.
Yeah, I just took it.
Yeah.
Just ate it up.
Like it was nothing. So he ended up with an 87. Kai Peterson was up, and that's kind of where we found out that the CREDO, it doesn't really punish faults. So Kai ended up with a 65, went next. I wrote series of events, but he had a mega save. He had one of the craziest saves I've ever seen until in an event with crazy saves. So if you haven't, like, go watch that again. And then I think he attempted a 7.
The cork 7 only went to 5. I think he didn't get the pop or the lip that he was looking for.
Yeah.
And ended up, pretty much dead backwards landing and blew his skis off. So as you said, CREDO, like a skis off crash, and he still manages to pull a 65 for the stuff that he did. That speaks to that judging criteria and the way they're doing it. At a competitive freeride event, that's a no score when your skis come off like that. So still, I mean, we talked about Michelle. Kai's another one with a lot of experience in big, scary, gnarly terrain. Ski mountaineering, filming, stuff out in Bella Coola, that like riding mountains that are enormous. So comfort in terrain, you could see. And Kai, he's really good at this kind of stuff, like the
Yeah.
natural natural feature takeoffs, getting tricks in where it kind of doesn't make sense that you could get a trick, and then he'll do a rodeo 7 or a cork 7, things like that. So
And on gnarly terrain too.
Yeah,
Like he can
yeah.
do that stuff and that crazy stuff. Like looking at those Sherpas films he was in, Numinous, his film, which if anybody hasn't seen that, go watch Numinous because it is bonkers. Just
heavy consequence.
heavy consequence, crazy spines. So unfortunately he crashed. Marcus Eder put down probably one of his most conservative runs of the day.
Definitely.
Just I guess his warm-up lap, but it still was a true Marcus Eder run, very calculated. Maybe it was like it seemed like he was just kind of getting the lay of the land.
Yeah, feeling it out a little bit. It was and even the commentary team kind of called it. They're like, oh, this seems a bit reserved. But I think we got to give these athletes credit. That was their first run of the day. They got dropped off up there in a heli. You're not warmed up. You haven't done, some laps to get things going, and you're going to get 2. So figuring it out, and also with the feedback they got from Parker, that's Marcus is good. He's good in these situations, and he's not as young as some of the other riders, so he has a bit more sort of, I guess, savvy, like he's taking a calculated approach. But yeah, it was a reserved run, and for sure we were going to get to see a lot more from him as the day went on.
Absolutely. It's like, speaking of like film parts, his Circle of Madness that he did last year with Victor, it's as if they went to Alaska and went to all of the classic big lines as if they were playing a video game and tried to get the top score on those. Like it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So he's probably just like, okay, I'm just warming up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he did this kind of stuff on that film. Like that's another one you got to put on the playlist. So rounding out the second round of the ski men, the session 2 was Craig Murray with a 96. Huge 360 to a gap, and then a backy, and then another 360, and then this massive transition gap that Sam Cooch hit, and then straight line through the debris. Like he did not go slow. Like Craig Murray was like, it's almost as if he was like, I'm gonna win this, but also this is just what I do.
I'm so glad that Sam and Craig were on opposite sides of the bracket, because both of them in run one of each of their respective sessions looked visibly different than everyone else with this, especially the speed. And that is a hallmark. You're only turning when you need to change direction. Neither of them were really ever turning to slow down. It was just to move from feature to feature. And the link up of the entire face was just so seamless. And like you said, like there were features on there that he needed to go that speed for. He understood the assignment. There was like a really depth, like a deep knowledge of how mountains work, how your skis work on the mountain in the snow, which we know is tricky because it caused all kinds of people all kinds of problems. And Craig just didn't make it look like difficult. It was just kind of letter perfect, so fast, so intense. And I loved his finish line interview with Tatum, where he was first of all, he actually gave himself some props, which is
yes.
really, really rare. If you've ever spent any time with Craig, he's about the most humble person you'll ever come in contact with. But his legs aren't feeling great, and he kind of gave himself that credit, and then just the gratitude for the overall experience, for being, I think he even said, like, allowed to be here. It was such a refreshing kind of take on the whole thing. And I really like again, commentary team nailed it on this. They were like, well, that means a lot coming from him when he's willing to give himself some credit. And that was the highest single run score thrown of the day. we saw Sam with a 95 a little bit later on in the semis, but that 96 first run opening up, a bunch of new features, and it was perfect. And that's just how Craig does it. Like when he's on, he's just such an incredible skier. It's a kind of magical blend of power and strength and finesse, and then an eye for line that just is like it's top of the game.
Yeah.
He's seeing the mountain in a different way and has the skills and strength to back up that vision,
and then skis it at a pace that no one else can match.
Yeah, well, you have to make those gaps and those transfers that he's doing.
Yeah.
It's like he's got this mental math calculation that other people don't even approach because they don't see those gaps as doable. And he's like, well, if I get enough speed, I can make it out to there, and that's a nice transition.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's incredible to watch. I feel like we're blessed to be able to be in this era where we get to see this stuff because it's pretty exciting to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought that up. I had actually didn't write that down because I was like amazed to hear him speak about himself that way, because he is the most humble, deflecting. I've had many conversations with him, been on the podcast a couple times, so I love to see that from him. We actually saw him last week at the WSSF, and he was very happy. Little did I know. So we get into the second, I guess the second round. For session one with Parker White, Kai Jones, and Colby. Parker had a little body check. Kai with a 58. Kai had a 78. And then Colby had a great run. Still a little lower on this overall score, but better than the rest for that heat. Big 3 with a perfect landy, a little shifty. And then the flat spin. And he ended up having another mega save. And you actually, that's where the mics came in, because you could hear him go, wah! They could hear him yell. And at the bottom, he's like, I've never fought for a landing so hard in my life. And that was another really great interview. I made a note of that. So like I said, Craig's, and then a few riders later with Colby's. And that's why I had said earlier that Tatum did a great job, because I think that familiarity with her that they all have, and that community feel that they spent the whole week there, that there's no kind of barriers, there's no guards up. You can just speak freely in that situation. There's no fans that were there. It was everybody that is there as part of the crew. So I think that was able to, like, I think the riders may have been able to give a little bit more.
Oh yeah, and they were just so floored and blown away by the whole experience, and that really came through in those interviews. As you said, like, Tatum is their friend. She's filmed with most of those people up there. Way more of a peer than a journalist who's just there to get the job done behind the mic. So that openness was great, because everybody said exactly what they were thinking, and I loved the fact that they had mics on the skiers while they were skiing. We heard some like, "Oh my God," from Hedvig, and the scream from Colby as he exited. All of that stuff. You get a sense, and I know I do this, and you probably do too. But like talking to yourself while you're skiing, having that get pushed out to the entire viewing audience. I'm sure some of them were like, "Oh, I don't know if I like this," but from a viewer standpoint, it was a great addition to the show to really actually hear firsthand what they're going through while they're doing it, instead of just after you take a breath, you collect yourself and you give an interview. You don't control that stuff. It just comes out.
Yeah. So Colby took that. So that was it for Parker and Kai. So Colby moved on into the semis, but he crossed over to the other side. So he was battling Sam in that very, very first round. So Sam was in the same bracket. So he crossed over to battle Craig, who ended up going straight into the semis. So Colby and Craig set up for one of the semis. Next, after that, we had the women round 2 of the women's event. The face, I noticed, was pretty chopped up by then. And then, we had it was pretty rough. It was kind of a pretty rough section. Michelle had a 58. Hedvig, a little bit more confident, a little more solid, but no tricks. Maggie ended up ripping out the pocket that was really scary, like right in the middle of it. She actually rode right through it, ended up getting up onto the high ground. And back to, like, as we mentioned with the length of the thing, they actually edited out a lot of the time that she needed to just kind of regain her composure.
Yeah, that was so scary. And what I saw there, when she was in that, she had the presence of mind to point her skis down the hill so she could keep moving. Instead of having that avalanche just plowing into her, she was able to move with it and then muscle her way back onto her feet and get on a left footer and actually move out of the path of it as it then proceeded all the way to the bottom, like so many did that day. Yeah, you called it in the notes the save of the day. I backed that completely. Like that was really smart. And the time that you have to make that decision is nothing, right? It's a split second where instinct kicks in. And so that move for her to get her skis from sideways to downhill so she could stay moving and actually stand back up, basically do like a from laying on your back to standing squat, and then pull out and get out of the way of it. That was awesome to watch. I mean, terrifying,
Yeah.
but really, really solid mountain move there from Maggie.
Yeah, absolutely. She actually put a really great post on Instagram, kind of talking about her experience, which was really a really neat read today, talking about her, for like her movement into kind of big mountain and film skiing and away from competition, and how you can reconcile both of those again throughout this event. It was really interesting to read. So Michelle, with a 58, Hedvig with the 57. So Michelle moves on to the semis.
To the finals.
Pardon me. Yes, to the finals to battle Manon and Loschi. I thought semis because the finals actually have a 2-run format. Next up, we have the men's semis. Oh, pardon me. The men's round 2, session 2, which could have been more controversial. Fortunately, it wasn't, and we'll explain why. And this was, I think, this is the heat of the whole day, in my opinion, just based on the points too. Max Palm, that pole plant 360, had a big air at the top. That pole plant 360 kind of
Candide
planted the pole, and then followed by the hand drag 360, the bottom transfer. He got an 85. I think maybe I heard potentially that the line maybe got scored a little bit lower, because I think it was quite similar to his first line. And then things got a little more interesting. Next up was Kai Peterson, who ended up with a 90. So he skied a spine, hit Parker's drop, then worked his way down the next spine, went for a 7. Really had to work to get the second rotation in. The landing, some people were questioning. Then went into a flat 3. Like, this is one run, anyways. Sorry, I just had to stop myself. Flat 3 into variable snow. Ended up throwing on the brakes, and then got caught into kind of like a rut, like 90 degrees into a rut.
Someone else's track.
And then got high-sided and ended up, finishing his run and getting a 90. So I know it could have been really, really controversial, because that was one of the higher scores of the day, with essentially a crash in the middle.
A full crash.
Crash.
He got tossed. And also, even like you said, that 7, I mean, he landed on his back. I kind of frame by framed it just to see, because I was like, seeing Max's run that was pretty much perfect, and then Kai, like, cork 7 to his back, flat spin to then full catastrophic explosion, and seeing that score come in, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. At the time, I didn't buy it. I guess I didn't like it.
Yeah, didn't like it. Yeah, fair enough.
But also, like, the world that I live in, is super different. So if that's what the CREDO philosophy is, and they're sticking to it, good enough, I guess.
Right.
But Marcus Eder then just broke any controversy, because it wasn't going to be Kai's day after that, because his run, well, like that's what we were kind of, I guess, expecting from Marcus Eder.
Mm-hmm.
Some weird, futuristic, crazy cool, like nose butter switch 5 off a cliff, and you watch him approaching that thing. He's on a knife edge, almost like having to creep to the edge of it because it drops away so sharply, and it's way up at the top of this huge Alaskan face. And he creeps up, and you're like, oh, okay, we're whatever's going on with Marcus. He's tentative today, and then boom, flips around to switch butter 5 off a cliff, and then lands it perfectly. Like that was one of the moves of the day, in a day that had so many, but for sure one of the most creative things that I've ever seen on a mountain like that, like on a big face. That's a cat track move,
and that wasn't even the craziest thing that he would attempt.
Yeah, in the day.
Yeah, like there's more to come. So like, he finished in that same run. He had that like good skiing, that big hand drag 3, that transfer, the big air finisher, like Marcus Eder. So what could have been a good big controversy became, a moot point.
Yeah,
really, because Marcus Eder was like, yeah, well, let's just not have that.
Yeah, I've got this round, boys.
Yeah, so in a round that was 85 from Max Palm and 90 from Kai, 91 from Marcus. Marcus then moves over, swaps to the other the other bracket, and it's in the semis is Sam Cooch versus Marcus Eder, Craig Murray versus Colby Stevenson. Like, I'm getting goosebumps. I watched it, but it's so awesome. Like, this is exactly what they wanted from this competition. Absolutely exactly what they wanted. The best skiers in the world doing some crazy things.
And these dream matchups.
So now there's 2 runs in the semis and then 2 runs in the finals. So like Craig Murray and Sam, I think had, I guess, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 runs. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah, it's so long. The fitness required for that is intense, and you could hear it in their breathing. They were so gassed by the bottom because the snow looked like a lot of work. Like, it's really physical skiing, and those guys just again and again and again, just go again, let's do it again, and they were so pumped at the bottom. So that first round of the semifinals with Marcus and Sam Cooch was one of the best rounds of the day. Both of them laying down, like really executing full top to bottom runs with just such control, such precision, power again required in that dense snow. I think Sam's run in that heat was my favorite run of the whole day. Breaking open a brand new section, where he went out skiers left and Marcus went out skiers right. He had to punch the track in along that ridge. And you could see from the drone shot how aggressively the mountain falls away on the left side. He's traversing on the ridgetop and eventually is going to go right. But traversing on that in untapped snow, there's a big compression in there. And that's only just to get to where you're going to ski. That's not even your run. That's just the approach to it. And then he just showed this mastery of terrain.
Mastery of terrain with 2 of the hugest gaps, like terrain, like channel gaps I've ever seen. Unreal. Yeah. But he went second in that semis. First was Marcus Eder, who threw a double backflip and sniped the landing with a huge 360 just to toss in as well. So we said that last one was like the session of the day. This one was right up there so this proved to be the session where both riders took their scores from. So basically, I don't think we explained this. In the semis and the finals, you get 2 runs, you pick your best run. And both of them had their best runs. Marcus Eder throws a double backflip and goes 88. And then Sam goes, here, hold my beer. And skis probably one of my favorite runs of the whole day. And even the announcers were like, that was like a film run.
Yeah.
Absolute film run. So we're like, okay, well, what's going to happen on their second heat? But while we waited for that, we had heat number 2 with the second guys, Craig and Colby. Colby had another phenomenal run himself, and 86 points. He had this cool little like donk the donger, the cool little pillow donger that he had at the top. Another massive 3, another like just putting spins and spins and spins. We say it all the time and it's almost commonplace, but for anybody to even like a real human being to comprehend throwing a 360 in any of that is just absurd, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, I want to throw some credit to Colby, because this is a professional slopestyle skier who has relatively recently transitioned into big mountain skiing, and it's one of the most seamless transitions I've ever seen. The Land of Giants segment that he had in Alaska, where he was skiing with Hedvig, was, you don't see that. You don't see that from park guys that just jump into terrain like that and are immediately awesome at it. And in this field, especially, Colby held his own and then some. You know, he's stacked up against Craig Murray, one of the best guys and the eventual winner. And he's doing big moves. He's moving around. And again, similar to the Marcus Eder matchup with Sam Cooch, they each went different directions on that finals aspect of the face. Colby went out to the right, Sam went out to the left, and the commentary guys, I think, nailed it, where they did say, I think it was Bench Hetler was like, I feel like there's more features on the skier's left side. You know, there was more kind of skiing, working that spine rib down to then get like the double backflip and then the big 3 for Marcus, and the moves that Colby had. But on the other side, there was just more to do. And obviously when those guys have the eye for it, but yeah, Colby's run was like really cool. And I just want to throw some credit his way, because that's a park skier who's just doing it out there in Alaska and making it look like he's been doing it for years.
Yeah, absolutely. So that run, Craig had a little bit of a little compression. He had a crash on that run, so he had a 30. So heading into this second round of the semis, Sam is just ahead of Marcus with a 95. Marcus has an 88. Craig had a crash. Colby's looking good going into that second round, which is soon to come. Then we went straight into continuing on with the semis. They waited to hold the both the finals together, the men's and the women's finals. So into run number 2 of Heat 2, Marcus, as we foreshadowed earlier, not the craziest thing he's going to attempt. He threw a backflip at the top of this next run and then tried a double cork 1080 off an Alaskan spine in the middle of a competition. There's no superlatives that I can say that, like, there's no words for that. Like, I could watch that on repeat. I had to watch it 5 or 6 times to be like, what exactly did he just do?
Well, yeah, because your typical double cork, the way he set that almost looked like aerials. You know, he was really stretched out. It wasn't the kind of regular stylish. He was really straight, and it looked like he was kind of going for like a backflip 720, which I guess if you put all the pieces of a double cork 10, that's what it is. But then the second rotation all of a sudden was stylish and kind of classic double cork, like the air awareness of that guy to do it there. Like you said, I just lost for words for it. It doesn't make sense. It almost worked. And then he got absolutely thundered. Like the number of tomahawks that he for sure won the Tomahawk Award on Natural Selection Ski, because nobody flipped over more times without their skis on than Marcus did on that. He just got worked over and over and over. And he even said, he's like, that was a washing machine.
Yeah.
He went through it. But that is, I think, you know, when you look back at the big picture of what this event was trying to achieve, that was it. You know, let's get the best skiers out there in this environment, and let's see what they're really capable of when we give them a bunch of tries, not just a single run, and see what the ceiling really is. Now, he came up against it pretty hard there, the ceiling, but like for even just for the attempt to try it there on that weird takeoff and still just set it, throw it, you know, he got it around, that just couldn't handle the landing. That was incredible. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it just spectacular. I'm watching it again right now as we speak. Like even the top, that first backflip that he threw at the top was just so huge and floaty and like fall line. He was just bonkers, man. So kudos to him. And then Sam back up top corners and just hit a snow shark. Ski popped off.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he hit that rock hard. You could see the way he got ejected. He got tossed, and he had a couple of weird crashes, through like in that one and then in the finals later. That was like, it felt like at least the only exposed rock on that entire venue.
Yeah.
Everywhere else was deep powder, and there was a little rock below it that was visible, but that one just had just enough fluff sitting on top to hide it, but not enough that you could ski over it, because he got like rapid deceleration of his feet.
Yeah. So that was a bummer, but because of his epic run, just the one prior, Sam Cooch moves on to the finals, and it's like how do you attempt a double cork like double cork 1080 and not move on to the finals? Like, it's so crazy to me. So Sam, that's just how it works. Sam moves on to the finals. Next run in the semis, Colby goes first. He just ran into a wall. He had a big casual, like he was going fast to like a compression where he ended up having to stop. A little casual 720. And he just said like he ran into a wall. He just ended up didn't quite pick the right line for that moment. And then smashed.
Yeah, and there's so many of those fluted spines, and with every spine comes a ditch under it, right? It's got to go down if it goes up, and he was trying to shed some speed in between two spines, and the walls of them, I mean, we saw from when Craig and Sam were jumping over them and gapping them, the walls of them were pretty close to vertical, and Colby needed to be pointed downhill in that moment, and he wasn't. But I can totally understand that, because you point your skis downhill fully there and you're never recovering the speed. You're now committed to straight lining an entire Alaskan mountain. So he tried to wash the speed off, and yeah, he just got absolutely like a bug on a windshield, just splat.
And then Craig with another score in the 90s, just flow. Just, it's like I'm calling it a classic Craig Murray run. Just fast, full, flowy, big transfers, 360s. Just that right there is like dictionary. If it is a video dictionary, open it up, Craig Murray line. That's what it was, right?
Yeah, and I'd like to ask Craig this question, but I really wonder, because on the first run he shorted that enormous transfer, but on the second run he had his track in. So I wonder if that was like a strategic move of, yeah, I'm going to go for it on this first run, but when your feet and lower legs are just dragging through powder, the speed's not there, because then in the second run in that one, he had the speed and he made that thing, and he made it with a spin. Like that was smart. That was really, really smart. He put his own track in that then later allowed him access to the speed he needed, because it was a long, long way over to that landing. And when we watched him hit it the first time, we're like, wow, that was too big, maybe, I guess. And then you sort of look at it and you're like, oh no, he actually didn't make it to where he meant to go. That whatever it was, I don't even know in feet or meters, but far was still not far enough. And then once he had the track in, he was able to actually get all the way out there, and he never shorted it again. He went back to that well for the rest of the day, and it worked perfectly every time. So hats off to Craig for having the vision, and maybe somewhat on purpose taking that impact to then gift his future self an in-run to a gap that works, but only if you have the speed for it.
Craig moves to the finals. Craig Murray versus Sam Cooch, both Arc'teryx riders, which was a big sponsor of Natural Selection. So they've got to be happy with that. Now we have the first run for the women's final. We have Michelle Parker and Manon Loschi. And neither of them had a great run. Michelle had a crash, unfortunately. And then Manon ripped out of pocket. It's a little slough management. Just nothing special. Probably it was her weakest run of the day, and Michelle's as well, which is a bummer. But that's what makes this competition cool, is because you get 2 tries.
Yeah, for sure. That one was effectively a throwaway for both of them. And the fact that you get to go up and do it again is so cool. Like they felt out that side. That was both of those skiers' first time on that finals section of the face, so they were able to kind of feel it out, understand what the snow was doing. It looked challenging on that first run, and kind of got the like, ugh, is this going to work? Is this going to be okay? Like you said, another big pocket cutout avalanche there from Manon, and neither of them really looked all the way comfortable on that run. And then the fact that they got to go and do it again I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, and then run 1 for the finals in the men's event, kind of the same thing. Throwaway for both of those guys. Craig didn't have the greatest run. Cooch over-rotated a backy and lost his ski. So, toss those, right?
Yeah.
And now,
on.
and I wonder if it's because it's been such a long day up until this point, added to the fact that they know they're in the finals. Maybe there's some nerves jangling around. Maybe not. Maybe a little bit of everything kind of included in that. Because the first run for all 4 of them were probably that we didn't even talk about them. We're rolling right through them.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we'll have to ask Craig about that, because we're going to be chatting with him shortly. All right, so moving on to the women's final run number 2. This was Michelle's best run of the day with a 68. It's got to feel good to finish off strong. And it was quite close. She was very careful at the top, slow and careful. Like, this is a veteran. She's gone through 2 runs already. She's learned about what this face is doing. She's taken years of experience, and she's making sure she gets a good rundown. She needs it, right? Because her last run was a 20, so she needs a good run in order to win this thing. Slow and careful at the top. Hit a nice cliff to get things going. Found some really good snow and good flow mid run, and then right at the end of that little spine, a little shifty, and then blast out to the bottom. Big smile on her face. Got to be happy with that run. 68.
Yeah, looking back on that cliff that she hit, and she took her time to set it up so she could get the transition, but was probably the biggest single air that got hit by the ski women in the entire event. So showing the veteran savvy, like, that thing looked really hard to approach. It was so steep, and you could see like the jump turns to get down to it. And then, lining it up. And then, like you said, just blast out the bottom. It was, I know for sure that the ski women wanted more out of this day in terms of showing full progression and like getting absolutely buck wild in the mountains. The snow was not on for that. And Michelle, like, one big cliff and then skied a lot of deep powder the rest of the way down. So hard to sneeze at that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then followed up by Manon, who had another phenomenal run, dropping hot. Jumped over Sam's rock that I guess took him out, the shark, that the only rock that was on the face that we talked about. Popped over that, slashed some pow, little air, ripped out another little pocket. Good slough management. Just really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, I like it. And end of the day, we got Manon Loschi, very first natural selection ski winner in history in the inaugural event. Michelle Parker coming second, which is pretty inspiring. Like you said, total legend of the sport and AK veteran. So a real kind of variety there in your top 2. You've got somebody who's never skied in Alaska before, and somebody who has spent a lot of time in Alaska, and that's your final, and that's the top 2 finishers at natural selection. So definitely impressive, and I cannot wait, honestly, to see whenever they go back and do it again. hopefully in snow that allows for the full show of what those women are capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. So Manon tied her best score of the day, same as her initial score with a 70, and Michelle Parker with a 68. So it was close. So congrats to Manon. We are going to have our conversation with Manon following the recap. Derek and I spoke with her just before we started this recap. And we're actually going to speak with the winner of the men's event, who we're going to announce in just a moment. You probably already know who it is, following the recap. So heading into the men's final, run number 2, we started off with Craig Murray once again, just putting down. Craig Murray run, like, you know, both those guys needed a run because their first just wasn't cutting it. Huge air, the side shelf, 360 transfer, backflip, mega speed, just similar to what he did what he was attempting the run before, but just nailed it perfect.
Yeah, put all the pieces together, and the speed of both of the guys in the final was the highlight. The fact that they're able and willing to go that fast in that terrain, in punchy, honestly, like kind of difficult snow, was just such a testament to how really good they actually are. It was so cool. And Craig got it from top to bottom on that second run in the finals. And that was the difference maker there. And then Sam's run was so exciting. It was so exciting. I mean, these two guys are absolute buds. He went out so hot. The 3 at the very, very top of that face, like right off the top. And here's something you can't underestimate. That's a cornice up there, so you can't see over it. He found the spot where the cliff was, so it's not just a cornice, but a cornice on top of a cliff. Found that from above without being able to see over the edge, and then just tosses a 3 off it to perfection.
And it snipes, like it basically like landed like on the side of this little shark fin. So it wasn't like he was landing perfectly fall line. It was like double fall line, sniped this little transition, and then didn't lose any speed. And then ended up doing one of the most astonishing things of the entire event. I'm watching it as we're talking right now. He cruises over into his spot, hits this takeoff, and launches like an 8-story building.
Yeah, that was for sure the biggest air of the day. He went so far out and so far down. Some of the other transfers that both him and Craig were doing, where they were going really cross hill and they were connecting perfectly. This, yeah, like you said, it was just like he got tossed out of an airplane and was so high off the ground. The drone shot from behind him is nuts.
It's nuts. I'd like to find out exactly how big that was. Like the entire bar we watched this in, all of these athletes that do this were beside themselves. Like it was bedlam in there. We're like, what just happened? And then the bottom of his run, he tumbles, ski stays on, he gets up and goes and blasts down and hits 2 more massive transfers, sends the Berks run and gets to the bottom. No goggles on.
Goggles are gone. Yeah, he did that just completely blind, like squinting with the snow flying up into his face.
You can see his beard and his eyebrows are all frosty. And
And I have a theory on that air, and it's the same as what we said about Craig in his first semis run when he put the track in. I think on that one, Sam was actually a ski length short, which is insane to think because it was so big. But I do wonder if he had a third run and he had that track in that he made, because he was obviously the only one that looked at that and thought, oh yeah, that's a cool takeoff. I should punch off that as fast as I can. If he could make the downside of what he landed kind of into and actually make that work. It's baffling to even think about that biggest air of the day was still actually a little bit too small, or, just didn't quite get the distance to find that landing. But that's my working theory on that. I think there was a landing there that he just didn't quite get to.
Yeah, it's like I've got it on the other screen here, and like I'm gonna watch the highlights and just go click on the interval runs 5 or 6 times, because there's got to be no less than 20 jaw-dropping moments. Like we watched the Freeride World Tour, and you get maybe half a dozen in an event like that where you're like, oh, awesome, maybe less, right? Because it's, you get one run, it's just what it is. Them having the ability to do a couple runs on a face like this and then get a rebate is amazing. But even without that, like there were so many things we saw that just are beyond comprehension to me, honestly. I'll be watching this again, like just watching it now. I'm like the scale of air that they get, the speed that they get, like I just watched it again. It's I no words to how amazing the quality of skiing was in this. So congratulations to Craig Murray with an 85 on that final run. Sam Cooch, tumbled on, like, literally jumping off an apartment building. That's what it looked like from the drone angle. And congrats, Craig Murray. Congrats, Manon Loschi, to a pretty cool inaugural natural selection ski.
Yeah, done and dusted. The format now proven. It works. It's awesome. It's good watching. You get the best skiers out there all together in one place on a huge mountain like that. Give them a bunch of chances to have a go, and you're going to see something really special. And Craig and Sam, catching up at the bottom, so proud of each other, so stoked for the whole thing, so grateful. It was a nice little moment there between two really good friends who are also at the absolute top of the game right now in big mountain skiing. So I'm super excited to see where this goes. It's definitely, the format's proven now. I cannot imagine the logistics that went into pulling this off. I have a sense of it because we do it at the Freeride World Tour in remote locations with a bunch of people, and broadcast it live. And this one was no different. The glacier camp that they had, the riders that they had, getting it all together like that is such a heavy lift. And hats off to Trav and Mike Douglas and the whole crew for the concept, for pulling skiing into the natural selection world. It clearly, at least in my opinion, proved that it has a place in that space. And for some of these riders that don't compete full time to have an opportunity to do some head-to-head competition, but in a different environment than your classic freeride style competition, in a way that is really open to progression and pushing boundaries of what's even possible out there.
Yeah, it's pretty darn cool. And I think this proves that the Freeride World Tour and natural selection, a lot of people will be like, well, are they going to battle? Are they against? I think there's space for both of them. I think they both have their own lane within freeride. And I think this just kind of proves it. You have the one-off that takes a lot of time and energy into, and then you've got this full, really dedicated series. So you have a little bit of both, and you can actually bring in different riders from both. Like you have the ability to include more of the best skiers in the world by doing something like this. So I think there's space and room for both of these. I, for one, am super stoked because it gives us something more to talk about, especially here on the Freeride Guide. And this was a lot of fun. So also, this isn't the end of this episode. Just following our sign off, we're going to give you our interviews with the winners, Manon Loschi and Craig Murray. So stick around for that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I had a lot of fun. I know you did too. Like this is great.
Yeah, unreal day. So excited to talk about big mountain skiing. Totally agree that there is a happy coexistence, I think, between Freeride World Tour and natural selection. I think they're barely even in competition with each other. They're quite different take on the sport, but both providing outlets for these athletes that we just love to watch perform at the highest level. It's an exciting time in this little niche of a niche industry already, to see some truly superhero performances from our heroes.
Absolutely. And thanks, Travis Rice, for including skiing in natural selection. Manon, Loschi, welcome to the Free Ride Guide and congratulations. You're the first winner of Natural Selection Ski. How does it feel?
Thank you. Yeah, it feels pretty crazy. It's pretty insane. It was already so crazy to be there and be invited, have the full experience of Alaska and like participate to this event with all these skiers and to win is really a cherry on top. It's really crazy.
So I wanted to ask you, like you mentioned the experience, what was that experience like? Just because I've learned it's your first time to Alaska. And
Yeah.
not only you just going to kind of go and figure it out, you're getting thrown into a competition right away with some of the best riders on the planet. Were you maybe a little overwhelmed or intimidated by any of the other people there, or was it more comforting?
It was pretty comforting actually. Like definitely felt a little bit intimidating going there because all the ski movies I've been watching during my life and all those crazy Alaska segments and stuff. But then I think it went pretty like step by step. We got to ski 2 days in the mountains before the comp and got to scope the face one day too. So like we haven't really been thrown away like into the face. So it was kind of cool to like ski a little bit the terrain, the snow, like feel everything and the vibe, and it was really cool and uh, just perfect to then have a competition.
Menon, how was it with the crew you were with? I mean, you talked about it in your finish line interview with Tatum, but describe it to us a little bit. Like, what an unbelievable group of skiers to have together all in one place.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like so many people I look up to and I have been looking up to. Like yeah, it was pretty crazy. Some of them are my friends, which was pretty sick. Like Max was there. I'm really good friends with Sam too. And like yeah, but it was definitely pretty crazy. Like I remember we did the first run on the first heli ski day. It was just like a little fun lap, and at the end, everybody just gathered together waiting for the rest of the group. And with Max, we were looking at each other, and then looking around, we were like surrounded by all these people. It was a dream. Like it's so cool.
I have a question for you. So everybody knows you were on the Freeride World Tour for a couple of years, and you stepped away, and then this year you spent a lot of your time free riding, spending a lot of time in North America, a lot of filming, that sort of thing. Um, how was approaching natural selection competition different from, say, the Freeride World Tour competition? Were there any big differences? Did you approach the day differently than you would have, say, an FWT competition?
It's definitely really different. There's definitely similarities too, like the way I prepared for it, like the day before, like scoping, visualizing and stuff. I definitely kept a lot of experience and knowledge from the Freeride World Tour that I could use for the new event. But yeah, the definitely really different. Like the format, the judging, the organization, how they chose the face, everything was really different than the tour. So I kind of took it differently as well. Like the natural selection is more um like ski movie oriented, I would say, like in the judging and everything. Like if you do mistakes, and it's not really that bad if the line was good overall, and it's really more focused on the overall opinion of the line, the creativity, and like if it looks good and if it would make the cut in a ski movie or a big ski segment, you know. So and like the points are less important as well. It's more like the ranking that matters and who's gonna pass and stuff. So I definitely had to go there and with a different mindset. So I try to like choose a line and get there the same way I was gonna choose a line for film day, for example. Like I really try to choose lines I would have skied if we were filming and not competing. Unfortunately, because of the conditions, I couldn't really ski any of the lines I chose, and I had to change my plans last minute before going up and dropping in the face. So kind of frustrating, but yeah, I definitely took it a different way, and it was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, that format definitely from a viewer's perspective is pretty exciting to watch because it kind of promotes really just going for it. Do you feel like that suited your ski style?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was really cool because also it made us rode the face more than once, which is so sick because like this face has so much to offer. It's a crazy venue, so many hits to do and stuff. So yeah, unfortunately the conditions were pretty challenging, but I'm sure if it was really great conditions, like I had so many ideas, so many plans I wanted to do, I couldn't really do them, but it's definitely a really sick format. I think it's really cool. You can also be a little more strategic, but overall, it's a nice show, and you can uh definitely go way more. Like try to show some style too, and yeah, I really enjoyed that format for sure.
With you mentioned the conditions, it did look like it was pretty difficult there. You know, we've seen you and we know what your bag of tricks is, right? You've got backflips on lock. When you were first looking at this face, did you have a few spots in mind where you're like, hey, I'm going to try something there. I'm going to get inverted, or I'm going to do a flat three or something along those lines. Um, that potentially next year, if it's there again, you can get a rebate on.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Like that face looks straight from a dream. Like it's so sick. There's hits everywhere, spines. You can see pretty much everything from the top. It's definitely a long face too, but it's so cool. And I definitely had so many plans, like a lot of tricks and hits I wanted to do. But yeah, arriving the morning and seeing the first riders dropping in and how crusty it was and the slides and everything, I changed all my plans. Was pretty bummed, but still trying to make it happen, you know. But yeah, definitely, if next year is good conditions, I definitely already have a lot of plans in my
Oh
mind.
yeah, I like that. Looking forward to it already. Um, so you guys did this 3 weeks ago, and then you had to sit on it for this whole time. And for you, especially as the first winner ever of natural selection, how hard was it to hold it in, to not like tell your friends and family and post about it and all of that? Because it's such a huge deal.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. It was definitely pretty hard. We've been living crazy experience too. Like I think it was probably the craziest experience of my life. So I just wanted to like I could definitely tell what was happening there. I couldn't tell nothing about the competition, but it was pretty sick. I still managed to hold my tongue pretty well, I think. Just like when someone was asking me about the results and stuff, that was the hardest part. Like not to say it at all, to say like, yeah, sorry, can't spoil. Like you're gonna have to watch it. Like it was definitely hard. Like they were always trying to like ask questions and like get me, but I think I managed to keep a secret pretty well. But yeah, it was really hard.
Amazing. I want to talk about a couple of your runs, Manon. So your
Yeah,
first run, you rode it fast. That looked like you had tons of confidence. You ended up getting a ski cut, but saved it. Like I think that was kind of the theme of the day. Some of the greatest saves I've ever seen happened during that competition day. You know, the snow was kind of dragging your skis and kind of pulling your skis around, which shows how strong you are to stay on your feet. In your second run, you ended up getting a little high-sided. You lost the lens on your goggles and finished the run without a lens. As
yeah,
you as you had that happen, and then going into your final run, so you've had a great run, some confidence, but a little sketchy. Second run, you got high-sided, lost the lens. How did that set up your mindset for your final run? Because you started off that third run, you dropped in hot. So how did the progression of runs on that face kind of set you up for your final lap?
yeah. It definitely changed my mindset for the last run. Because I thought that those final runs were gonna be way better conditions and way easier to ski, but it looked really good, but it was still pretty like grabby, kind of heavy, like super hard to control the speed and everything. So when that happened and I got caught in that little chute and then got so much speed and just my tail got caught and I couldn't brake or do anything. And yeah, I definitely was like, okay, it's really hard. Like even if I jump something, I'm gonna land it okay, but then will I be able to survive the outrun? And how steep it is and how much speed you get, you know. So I think I came into the last run just wanted to land my line. Like I was my goal, to be honest, was just to make it to finals, and already just being here was a win. So like I was just like, yeah, just have fun, do a couple turns, land your run, like don't like have any bad feelings at the end of the day. And so yeah, I kind of took it really chill and just try to make it look kind of smooth. And yeah, it was frustrating, but I'm still happy. Yeah, I got to land my last run and got some pretty nice turns. So
Yeah, that was one of the highlights to me of your last run is you were just seeking POW. Like you had the POW nose turned on, and every time you were in tracks, you'd hook over and get into a section that didn't have tracks. You were saying the snow, even on that finals face, was a little more dense. And you know, one of the highlights or hallmarks, I think, of your skiing, and probably a thing that boosted you to the win, was just the speed that you were going. It really stood out in the women's field. Like you skied faster in every single bracket than the other competitors, which for sure is a part of it. How hard was it to control that? Like we saw you the one time where your skis got stuck in the fall line,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're going 1,000 miles an hour. But yeah, how hard was it to manage that snow?
Yeah, definitely pretty hard. It was like a little deep, little dense and grabby, and yeah, I had a hard time like doing whatever I wanted with my skis. I kind of felt I was like always carried in a track or something, and yeah, I was a little bit scared of grabbing too much speed and not being able to brake like it happened in the run before, and yeah, it was definitely pretty tricky. Also think that I'm kind of small and uh maybe it plays, I don't know, but like sometimes my skis were like going under the snow a little bit, and it was hard to like just like float and keep going and wherever I wanted. So yeah, a little bit hard.
Well, it looked like it was a bit of a struggle for a lot of the athletes, but that just adds another element to how tough and a competition like that is, which must mean that much more to you to be able to win, to come out on top. It was an amazing competition. You skied so well, and you handled yourself so well. I hope the party after was a lot of fun.
It was fun. We were really tired though, so but yeah, it was fun.
Three huge runs on that face is a lot. So hey, thank you so much for your time to chat with us, Manon. Congratulations on being the first ever natural selection ski winner. I know you've been doing a lot of filming, as I mentioned earlier this season. Do you have anything that we can look forward to coming up in the fall? Any projects that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, for sure. I've been working all season on my first solo project. So I've been filming in Japan, in North America. Now I'm gonna film at home in La Clusa and a little bit in France. And yeah, it's been a blast. I'm doing this with Hunter Paul from New Zealand, is directing the project with me and editing it all. And yeah, I've been filming with a couple different people in this season, and I think we got some cool stuff. It's gonna be a nice movie, I hope. And yeah, we're gonna do the film tour with Level One. So I'm gonna try to make it to a couple of the stops in the US, and maybe we'll try to make a stop in France. That could be fun, or in Europe. And yeah, also we've been filming a K2 movie in Nelson in February. So also this is gonna come out in the fall with all the K2 teammates, so it's gonna be pretty cool. And yeah.
Oh yeah, the Manon Cooch link up. I'm looking forward to seeing
Yeah,
that. That's going to be sick. Um,
yeah, for sure.
so it's clear that you've been spending more time in North America, Manon. Your English is unreal. Like since even
Man,
since
thank
last year
you.
on the tour, it's so good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much for your time. Hey, congratulations. That was a lot of fun to
Thank
watch,
you.
and we'll look forward to seeing your film coming up in the fall.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks,
It was
Manon.
Thank you, thank you. Bye bye.
Craig Murray, kia ora. Congratulations.
Kia ora, thank you very much. Yeah.
You are the champion of the first NST ski event, which was absolutely bananas. We just finished the full recap, and it's hard to come up with the words to what we just saw. We wanted to talk to you just to give you some congratulations, but we also want to learn about what the experience was like throughout the week. You've got the best riders in the world. A lot of them are your really, really close friends, which showed in the finals with Sam Cooch. You guys can really see the love between you guys. Why don't you tell us a little bit about arriving there, the first couple days of your experience? What was that like?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. It's such an honor. I'm so grateful, and yeah, thanks for this call as well. I'm really stoked, and it's quite cool for people to like find out after a few weeks. I've kind of just been laying low, but yeah, it's been incredible to see some responses and a lot of support from so many people. So thank you to all of them as well. In terms of the event, it was wild. The whole experience was just incredible. As you can probably tell, I lost for words, and just thinking about it, there's so many moving parts and don't even know where to pull from. But I'll just start with, I guess, like you said, where we came into it. I managed to fly up there without a passport, which was pretty wild. I was in Canada and forgot my passport at the airport, managed to get through the US border because I have a US passport, I just didn't have it with me. So I went up to the US border, gave them my Kiwi driver's license, and they took me out the back to secondary. And then we're like, wow, you know what? Actually, you can go through, like, your citizenship is valid, but you're not going to be able to leave the States. But at that point, I was running late. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to just go here. I'd already managed to check my bags through because I checked in online. So got through the border and started getting on these planes up there. And I was like, I don't know if this plane's going to let me on. I don't know if they're going to let me on because they were like needing proper IDs. And I just had this like New Zealand card. But I got up there and yeah, I kind of had to, at that point I had to. And then I luckily got my flatmate Glenn to ship a
Ship it,
passport
to
up
mail
there,
it to you?
which luckily got there before I was leaving. Otherwise, I would have had to, I guess, fly within the States back to Seattle and then go across the land border. But that was the start of my trip, which was pretty funny, to be honest. I've never really done that before. Well, I hope not a lot of people have done that. But yeah, and then getting there was incredible. It was so cool to see everyone. I knew most of the crew, and then a few I hadn't met before, and it was really cool to finally meet them and get to hang out. We were put up in Alyeska Resort, which was amazing. And it was just really cool to reconnect with old friends like Manon and Marcus and Max that I hadn't seen from Freeride World Tour, and then Cooch as well, who's a great friend of mine. And yeah, just getting to spend time properly with everyone was super nice. And I unfortunately wasn't skiing. The crew was riding the resort a bunch. And then we had a nice spa day, which was lovely. And then we were starting to figure out windows and looking at the weather. There was a tricky window where there would just be like a single day and everything wasn't quite ready on the glacier enough. It's quite hard to get a comprehension of the scale of the operation, but the amount of logistics to get everyone out there, everything on the glacier, all the film equipment, and it's mind-blowing. Yeah, so anyway, we didn't have it. We couldn't pull off this one day window, so we went for a warm up day, and that was one of the sickest sessions I've ever been a part of. And then we went to inspect the venue, which was incredible. We flew in on the ski plane, weaving between the peaks, and then banked this turn, flew up a glacier, and just like landed on a meter of cold snow on the glacier, and kind of just bounced into camp, and then walked through this tent city that they'd set up. And we were, just taken aback at there'd been people living out here for a week already, getting everything ready. And the venue just like towered above us, and the scale of it was crazy. It was wild. So we spent the afternoon there inspecting, and then we flew back out, and there was another short window. So we had another warm-up day, which was also one of the sickest sessions I've ever been a part of. I wasn't really doing too much on these. I was kind of just nursing my injuries and cruising around. But skiing with that group of riders in that kind of terrain, and it was just incredible. It was so fun. And we only, had a couple runs each a day, but you'd be at the top and then just watching people throw down. You go to the bottom, look around, and there'd just be people throwing down for another few minutes. So it was wild. Yeah. And I've just been talking, so I'll let you jump in with some questions there. But
Well, I wanna just dig into the crew that you were with. I mean, it's absolutely all time the group that they gathered together for this. And you touched on it a little bit, but how, I guess, inspiring is it to be with that group of people in that terrain, all there with a really similar mindset? What was that like for you? What was it like for the others? Like, if you could
yeah,
just.
yeah, it was something else. Initially, I honestly didn't think I was going to be invited, and there's 40 skiers out there that should have been there, could have been those 8 spots. I didn't think I was going to get one of those, and yeah, just the depth of riders, the difference in styles was incredible, and everyone was such good people as well. And I think it was really fun to not just run the event at the start of the window. We had the full window to kind of do activities together, ski together, and essentially just build a cool team atmosphere. And by the time the competition day came around, a lot of that competitive edge was worn off, and it was kind of like another session, to be honest. Well, at least that's how it felt. And I guess not being live streamed helped with that as well.
You alluded a couple times there to not really skiing a bunch and having some injuries. Can we ask kind of why and what's going on with you?
Yeah, I've had a long term tweak of the knee, which is getting better now actually. But in February, my ongoing patella tendinopathy got really bad, to the point where I was talking to Cole and Cooch and was considering not going to NST. I wasn't skiing and didn't really ski for the weeks coming in. Luckily, I had a great couple of physios and some good advice from friends and people who have been through similar things, and eventually decided that I still wanted to go and give it a shot. And I was just going to have to, do what I could and trust myself. But then, in one of the warm-up days before, I hurt, I had a landing that was kind of sore, and I put all the doubts back in my head. I just basically had no confidence coming into the event. And I guess didn't really know what to expect of myself, and then the conditions changed a bit. So there's a few things that up in the air for me, and got up to the top of my first run, and eventually it was my turn to drop in. I was dropping last, and I just kind of was like, all right, here goes, and just dropped in. And
that first run was the highest scoring run of the day. With a 96. So after like I said, we just had the full episode. We've talked about your superheroism. You're telling us that you were at 70-80% of normal?
Well, I don't know if I might have been at 95% of normal. It's just I hadn't skied for so long before, and hadn't skied in that way basically the whole winter. So that was just really disconcerting for me, because I didn't really know how I was going to go. And I hadn't even been on my equipment that long. New boots, new skis, new mounting position, all that stuff runs through your head. So you kind of, I wasn't very confident at all. And I don't know, I'm just grateful that I did still go, and I trusted myself, and it worked out, and it felt so good. Once I had dropped in, I was stoked, and I think that showed. yeah, maybe I was just pent up after not skiing for too long.
Well, it showed in your skiing, and it also showed in your interview, and it was really kind of out of character, that first finish line interview with Tatum, where but in the best possible way, Craig. Like when you're like, I'm actually really proud of myself, and getting the backstory of that gives it so much more context. And I love that. We talked about how, and I guess it's a little bit on the fact that you guys were together for so long, but those finish interviews were really intimate. It didn't feel like a sports interview. It felt like just a conversation, between friends, and having Tatum there to be able to tease that out of you. And it was, I don't know, it was just such a great moment where you're like, I am proud of myself. That was worthy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it was really cool. Yeah, having Tatum there, who's a good friend of all of us, and yeah, it really helped for it to just be natural. And I mean that's a compliment to the whole crew of Natural Selection. Like you'd be at the top, and there'd be some great people dropping you in, and then you'd go to the bottom, and some of your best friends would be there. So like, it was pretty cool in that sense, and definitely like removed a lot of those barriers that might be there at other events. It was all pretty friendly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It seemed like it was kind of the best atmosphere. Now, you got what, 5 runs that day? And
yeah, 5.
and that's a huge day, especially if you're kind of taking it easy on your knee. You're like, okay, now it's like the playoffs, like we're going for it, right? And you had some pretty consistent runs. You really only had, I guess, one run that was kind of a throwaway. With a face like that, and I'm talking based in comparison to like the Freeride World Tour. What are some of the differences in being able to ride a face like that, but knowing where you're going to go because you were just on it, what the conditions are like? Is there much of a difference based on the Freeride World Tour to that on how you approach your runs?
Yeah, I guess there is. Yeah, there's a difference there, and I mean, with the Freeride World Tour, like say you're in the semi-final and you get 2 runs in Natural Selection. In the Freeride World Tour, it's just a 1-run straight final, so double the stakes technically. So I think it is really cool, and I really enjoyed that format, to be honest, of having multiple runs, because you could kind of explore, and then like, well, I mean, I didn't, because I didn't really ski too smart, and I ended up crashing in both my first runs, so I didn't maybe achieve too much. But I think it opens up more opportunities, and I think that was really cool. And there weren't that many of us, that's the difference. Is there's not too many riders, especially when you get to semis and finals. So there's not as many tracks, and there's more on offer, and the venue was massive itself, like width but height as well. I can't remember, maybe 600 vertical meters, which is a little bit less than the back, I think, but still, like, yeah, you're definitely dropping a long way on your way down, and there's so many features and options as you go.
Yeah, I mean the size of the face and skiing it over and over, it was so cool having you guys mic'd up, because we could hear the breathing and like the self-talk and all of that. So, doing that 5 times in a day, like physically, how did you guys feel after?
Yeah, I was pretty sore. That's for sure. I mean, it's just, like, it's hard to ski like that a lot, and like that's what your body probably needs to be conditioned, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's not good for you. But I also like couldn't gym or train or doing it. Like I was basically just cruising for the 3 weeks before, so that probably didn't help. But
Apparently, it didn't
also,
matter.
yeah,
Like maybe it was what helped. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm going in cold, but whatever.
yeah. I think like I knew that physically I could handle it, and like fortunately I am naturally strong and fit. But yeah, how like we ended up lapping that thing. Once the semis started, it was go, go, go. We'd get to the bottom and you'd be straight back up, especially if you crashed. Then I don't know if you can see, but like one of the bottoms. I'm at the bottom, and they're like, "Yo, you gotta go." I literally just arrived. There's snow everywhere. It's like melting. Goggles are like gonna start fogging, and then you just leave, and then walk straight back up to the top, and it's just like again, and that was super intense, honestly. And I didn't necessarily, I wasn't prepared for it, I would say, and I think maybe that came from my low confidence and not thinking, that I would be in the final and not prepping properly, or maybe it's because it was all put into one day, or maybe a combination of factors. But yeah, I felt like it finished and I was like, whoa, that was wild. And when I was in it, I kind of knew that I would have liked to have like skied like a couple different lines and shown, specifically in the final, shown a bit more of my skiing. But how it unfolded and my crashes and everything, it just felt really good to land one, to be honest. And yeah, that was pretty special to just be there with Sam, and yeah, I'll never forget it.
What well it was a day of feats of strength. That's what I'm going to call it. It was pretty spectacular. We saw some pretty amazing things. Do you have anything that sticks out in your mind of something that any of the other riders did that just blew your socks off?
A lot, honestly.
Yeah. It's almost hard to isolate one. We were talking about it because there are so many jaw-dropping moments that you almost have to go back and review the notes to remember that, oh yeah, he did this or she did that. Like it was so amazing that the quality, like I said, like you've assembled like the best riders of the world, and they showed why. And the fact that it boggles my mind hearing you in true humble Kiwi style saying like, I didn't think I was going to be invited. I didn't really think I was going to ski that well. Who ends up taking the overall title? It just it boggles my mind to think that you have yet another gear, and that's scary but exciting at the same time from someone who loves watching you ski.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean that's the kind of skiing that I love and I'm trying to do, and that I envision. And I was just so grateful to have an opportunity to like show a little bit of that. And I think that, yeah, hopefully there'll be more, because yeah, there's still more that I want to show. But I guess going back quickly to some other points that stick out, I didn't get to see the whole event because of how it would run, and I was last in the heats and whatnot. But Parker White's attitude and dropping in first was huge. Like he fired us all up to go for it, because everyone was like, we'd done a snow check run and it was pretty dodgy. I actually had a massive crash in my snow check run, which wasn't the best start to the day. But he just really, was really impressive and positive and strong, and just, dropped in. And that was super cool feeling, I think, for all of us. And then I thought Michelle, all the girls skied really well, and especially in those conditions. But that was cool to see. And then I think Marcus's nosebiter 7 was a standout for me as well.
Did you get a chance to see his his double cork 1080?
Not until after, but I think he had a funny quote about that. He wasn't. I mean, he did a dub 10 off like a natural feature pretty much, but he went and said like he was not happy with it, not happy with the style, or which he should have been. But what did he say? I was instantly punished by the shred gods.
Yeah, the way he set that was definitely not classic Marcus style, but I thought it was so cool that he brought the second rotation back into style. It was almost like two different things in one air. The first one was like a super aerial set, and then the second rotation, he was tucked up and looking good, and it's a tribute to his cat-like nature that he was able to do that.
Yeah, pretty wild, honestly, like that.
And you know what, man? Like watching you ski, like bringing it back to you. You had some massive massive spins, those huge transfers. And I think your speed overall kind of separated you from the rest. So it was really, really fun for us to watch, especially in the environment we got to watch it in. I've had a really good time talking about it with Derek all day. And we're both super proud and stoked for you, man. And hearing kind of your thoughts going into it, hearing some of your doubts just makes me even more happy that you came through with the win, especially sharing the finals with your really good buddy. And you could definitely see and sense the love between you two.
Yeah, turned into a little bit of a love story at the end there. It's pretty good. Yeah, but honestly, that was an experience just mind-blowing. Like, I'm still, even after watching yesterday and kind of reliving it, I'm still like, can't believe it happened. And being up there with Sam on that knife edge ridge, I mean, going through something like that on your own is incredible, but an experience like that alongside one of your best friends is incredible. I don't know.
That's
Hard to
amazing.
comprehend.
Yeah. That's really amazing. So wrapping up, you're not only just a competition skier. You've had some injury stuff, as you mentioned, through this season. Are you putting together, and we know in the past you put out a lot of independent film projects. Can we look forward to something from Craig Murray this fall?
Yeah, I'm unsure what I'll be able to pull together this fall. My winter's been a little up and down with the injuries. I have been filming with MSP, so I'll have a segment in their film, or rather be in one of the segments. And I'm planning another film with Finlay Woods, which is very exciting. We've got some fun ideas, so you have to wait and see.
Awesome.
Excellent. I think the passport story will make Neil Williman and the rest of the original Team Useless very proud to know that you're carrying on their their traditions. I love it, Craig. Huge congratulations! First ski men, or first winner of the ski men in natural selection. It's something you can definitely hang your hat on. Probably very few people surprised, and having you and Sam in the final was pretty dreamy. So yeah, massive congratulations, and I cannot wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. Yeah, good to chat. Good to relive some of those stories too.
Right on, man. Hey, stay safe. Have a great time up there, and thanks for your time. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We've got one more episode this season. We're going to do a Challengers recap. Region 2 Challenger just wrapped up, I think, yesterday. So there's lots of free ride going on this week. So stay tuned for that coming up next week. And thank everybody for tuning in. You can follow us on the podcast app you're listening to. Please hit that subscribe button. You can watch on YouTube. Thanks to Surefoot Skiing. Surefoot custom ski boots fitting you for custom heated liners, custom orthotics to make your feet feel good. They've got 29 locations across the US, Canada, and Europe. You can visit surefoot.com to find the locations nearest you and ski the Surefoot difference. Thanks everybody from me.
And me.
We'll talk to you soon, and have a great day.
This has been a Redmark Media production.